Hello, everyone. I'm Bill Repicci, President and CEO of the Lymphatic Education and Research Network, and I am honored to be here to introduce the video of the play, Let's Talk Lymphedema, by award-winning British playwright Brian Daniels and directed by Mark Armstrong, Artistic Director of the 24-Hour Plays, which partnered with LE&RN on this production. Based on the book Let's Talk Lymphedema by Professor Peter Mortimer and world-renowned photographer Gemma Levine, you're about to see the first play ever written and produced that tells the story of living with lymphedema, a story shared by up to 250 million people worldwide. Let's Talk Lymphedema was originally produced and aired as part of LE&RN's 2021 Global Virtual World Lymphedema Day celebration, an event sponsored by Juzo. We are now able to make this video presentation available to the world in perpetuity and free of charge, thanks to the support of the Fondation Ipsen under the aegis of Fondation de France. I want to extend our thanks to all the creative artists involved in this production. And it is a pleasure to introduce LE&RN spokesperson, Academy Award-winning actress, Kathy Bates, who will introduce the cast. This is followed by the play and an after-play discussion with the actors, led by director Mark Armstrong. And now, I give you Miss Kathy Bates.
It's now my honor to introduce the play Let's Talk Lymphedema by Brian Daniels, directed by Mark Armstrong, starring Marie Fortune as Olivia, Kathleen M. Darcy as Margaret, Linda Marlowe as Maureen, Stephen Guttenberg as Professor Pemberton, Jack Flemiger as Jack, Von Dexter Montague as Adam, Stephanie Barry as Dorothy, and Emma Ramos as Vanessa.
I just want to thank you guys for the most amazing time. I can't wait to be a part of your family. I feel so blessed to be marrying Adam. He is just the sweetest guy in the world. I mean, the thought of living there, well, here with you, it's just so amazing. You will be my second mum. Oh, yes, he's just gone to visit the loo. I mean, restroom. Bathroom. Yes, then I'll be going through security. I'll message you the minute I am back in London. Oh, and you will come and visit my folks before the wedding, I hope. Love you.
Hello, dear. Did her flight leave on time? Yes, she called me. She's a very sweet girl and very English.
Good morning, the Lymphedema support line. How can I help? Your daughter. And are you looking for some information on how to support her, or would you like to speak to someone? Don't worry, a lot of people who contact us are nervous at first. Would you like to tell me your name? Margaret. Right. And your daughter? Olivia. So let's make an appointment now for her to come in for a chat.
Thank you for seeing me.
It's lovely to meet you, Olivia. Now, I understand you think you may have lymphedema. What makes you think this?
It's my ankles. They started to swell when I was a teenager. I'd had this accident at the gym at school. I mean, I didn't think anything of it at the time. And after a few days, noticed that my ankle was twice the size it had been before. I thought it was just a bit of a sprain, so I went to see the GP.
That would be?
About 13 years ago.
It's always a good idea with any kind of swelling to go to the GP, I mean.
Yes, my mum thought so. I'd always remembered her ankles being a bit on the big side, so I thought it was just something I'd inherited from her.
What did the GP think?
Well, she thought the same as me. Just a bit of a sprain from a PE accident. Just rest it when you can, she said, and come back to me in a couple of weeks if it's still troubling you.
Did you go back?
Yes. Well, the swelling didn't go away. So they did some more tests. I saw an orthopedic surgeon and even had an MRI scan.
And did that reveal anything?
Not really. I mean, they were really baffled. You'll just have to live with it, they said. Anyway, fast forward to January of last year, I met my boyfriend. Well, soon to be husband, Adam.
Congratulations.
Thanks. He was on a secondment here from the States. It's all been a bit of a whirlwind. We only met in August. He's back in New Jersey now. I've just come back from there after meeting his mum. His family, they are all just so adorable.
You back from the United States when?
Last week, I'd been visiting his family and we were hoping to get married next August.
Yes, that's wonderful. Goodness, lots to organize then. A wedding is a big event. You say your ankle is more swollen. Did it get worse after the flight?
Yes, it did. How did you know? And it's quite uncomfortable.
Flying can exacerbate this type of problem. Have you been back to the GP?
Oh, yes. A man this time, Dr. Duncan. He was very jolly and said it looked like an edema. He arranged for me to have some blood tests.
Now, edema is a medical term for a swelling.
Well, to be honest, I did Google it and it came up with lymphedema and some rather scary photographs.
Tempting, but not at all that wise to Google. Leave it to the experts, clinicians. Have you had the results of the blood tests?
They were negative, so that was a relief. He prescribed a diuretic to help me pee. It made no difference. It's still swollen and I was just desperate for the loo all the time. So I stopped taking them.
Did you ask the GP if it was okay to stop taking them?
It's so difficult to get an appointment. I spoke to him on the phone and he said that if they weren't helping, it was fine to stop taking them, but he was a bit baffled about the swelling. So he's trying to find a consultant who specializes in these conditions, but they are few and far between, apparently.
Oh, please don't panic, Olivia. Even if you have lymphedema, you have caught it early and are on the track to getting a diagnosis and treatment. So it's unlikely that the leg will end up on the internet.
But it said it's uncurable. Even the GP didn't know what to do.
Well, if it can't be cured, there is a lot that can be done to help control the symptoms. Why don't I talk you through it and then send you out some information, huh? That way, when you see the lymphedema team, you will be a bit more prepared and have the right information.
Thanks for coming with me, Mum.
I wanted to be with you when you saw the consultant. You're lucky to be seeing him, you know.
Lucky? You must be joking. It's not lucky to have swollen ankles.
No, lucky to be seeing a doctor who knows about this. There are not many specialists in this field, you know.
It's getting worse, Mum. I know it is. I can feel the other one is bigger now. Well, I'll tell you something for nothing. I'm not going to be wearing those horrible elastic stockings. I'm too young for all of this. I haven't dared mention it to Adam. But I will. Don't worry. Can't see my ankles on Skype, thank God. Anyway, there's nothing he can do about it when he's 3,000 miles away. And this consultant guy, well, actually, he's a professor, is supposed to be one of the best. So everything crossed, eh?
Oh, I've had such a journey getting here today. The trains were all delayed. Have you come far?
Far enough. Mind you, it's worth a journey to see the expert.
It's the travelling that takes it out of you. Do you know something? A few years ago, I thought nothing of a journey. I'd drive everywhere. Well, I still drive, only an automatic, though. I went through thick and thin to get a disabled permit, but it was worth it. Do you have one?
No.
Oh, you must be...
Olivia, and this is my mum, Maggie.
Lovely to meet you both. I'm so sorry I'm running a bit late. I had a small emergency to deal with.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was you who'd come to see the professor. He's the best. Good luck, my dear.
Would you mind if I have just a bit of time with Olivia before I call you in?
Do I have a choice?
You can keep me company. Let me show you my knitting. It keeps me out of trouble. You're worried for your daughter?
I don't let her see it. She's so young. I reckon she's got a touch of what I've got.
What's that then, Hen?
Lymphedema.
She's young for it. I was in my 50s. It was after the breast cancer had hit me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you clear of it now?
The cancer? Yeah, well, for the time being. It's the 29th of October, 2009. I'll never forget that day. On the 28th, I was with my family. It was a Sunday lunch get-together. We were laughing and joking. We were making plans for my niece's wedding, and on the Monday, I was going to choose an outfit with my friend. I needed to buy a new bra, so she told me about how she'd been measured for one at that posh shop, you know, where the Queen gets her bras at.
Rigby and something.
Hella, that's right. So we went there. And there's a very snooty woman. She took me to a cubicle and said that to get a better cleavage, you need to bring your breast around from the side to the front and take the bra measurement from there.
Now that's something to keep in mind.
I hope I'm not embarrassing you.
No, not really.
So she takes my breasts in both of her hands and brings them to the front. Hey, presto, a cleavage. Then a bombshell. She asked me if I knew about the lump on the side of my left breast. She said that there's a lump there the size of a walnut.
Oh, no. You hadn't noticed it yourself?
No, but it's not a place you would think to look.
Was that the start?
I went straight from that shop to the GP surgery. I told the receptionist it was an emergency. I waited 4 hours. When I saw the GP, he said he would fast-track me for an appointment at the hospital. I asked him if it was cancer. He said he couldn't be sure about anything, but it needed investigating urgently. I felt sick inside.
She's not had cancer, nothing like that. I've had swollen ankles for as long as I can remember. And it's just something you learn to live with.
No, apparently there are lots of different causes. When I got my breast cancer diagnosis, he mentioned that the lymph glands would have to come out. I said, you do whatever it takes. I had the chemo, hormone therapy, the works. Then I was getting dressed one day and I noticed my fingers had started to swell. That's when they told me about lymphedema being one of the after effects of lymph gland removal. They had mentioned it at the start, but I was so intent on surviving the cancer that I didn't take much notice at the time. Whatever, I'm just glad to still be alive.
Now, do you have a letter for me?
From the GP, yes. Here it is.
Olivia, I'm going to chat to you about your medical history, examine you, nothing to be worried about. You can have your mum chaperone, and then we can work out a plan of action from there. How does that sound?
Okay.
So, Olivia, let me ask you a few questions about these swollen ankles.
It's not just my ankles that are swollen. That's only the part you can see.
So I said to him, you have to get your own tea because I have an appointment with the professor. He said, another one? You spend more time with him than you do with me. I should be grateful, really, that he cares. I've spent years working at getting everything under control.
Under control? Do you mean the breast cancer?
No, my weight. Once the lymphedema kicked in, I ballooned up to 25 stone.
25 stone?
I always liked my food. I was as broad as I was tall. Everyone was worried about me. My son said,
Mum, you've put weight on.
That's right, tell it like it is.
I am.
I've got a new lease of life. I'd written myself off and here I am, clear of the cancer.
For now.
Forever, I hope.
So do it. But look at the size of your arm. What they say about that?
They said it's something to do with the lymph drainage system. They gave me a special sleeve for it and I've an appointment at the clinic to talk it through.
Why aren't you wearing that special sleeve thing that they gave you?
I can't get it on, Jack. It's too tight. I don't suppose it would help much anyway.
Mum, they would not give you something if you didn't need it. If you couldn't manage to put it on, why not ask Dad? Or me?
It's too personal. It was a wake-up call.
I've had a good look at you, Olivia. Thank you for your patience. I can see some swelling in the genital area, as well as in your legs. None of this is uncommon, Olivia, and we can get the condition under control. There are lots of things we can do to help.
Do you mean take drugs? I tried them before, but they just made me go to the bathroom all the time.
As you say, the diuretic does have that rather unfortunate side effect. No, I think we need to look at how we can manage the swelling. It's not always possible to cure, but as I said before, we can certainly get it under control.
Do you mean it's something I have to live with for the rest of my life? I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can. Can my mum come in?
Please, don't worry about being upset. I usually have that effect on patients.
It's just such a relief to know that you understand.
Thank you, nurse. Would you show Olivia's mum in, please? Maggie, I've explained to Olivia that she has a condition known as primary lymphedema. That means that the lymphatic drainage system hasn't developed properly. But we can do a lot to get the condition under control.
She's got it from me.
It's nobody's fault.
I've had it for years. It's nothing more than swollen ankles. I've managed it, darling. It's just a bit uncomfortable in the hot weather and the like.
As I said, we can look at a range of therapies to get the lymphedema under control. The next step is for you to see a specialist nurse. She can talk you through how you can best manage things and measure you up for some compression garments. We have a nurse attached to this hospital, but we should try to find a lymphedema therapist closer to where you live.
I've heard the local hospital has a lymphedema clinic.
Yes, but you might find that they only treat lymphedema caused by cancer.
That's not fair. Do you mean that if it was caused by cancer, I would be treated free by the National Health Service?
I'm afraid that under current regulations, that is more than likely to be the case. You've met Vanessa from the support line. Well, she is campaigning to have the treatment around lymphedema changed so that all sufferers are eligible for free treatment. But alas, we're not there yet.
Can I use my work insurance to get better treatment? That's how I managed to see you.
Yes, and it's good that you did so that we can get you some help as soon as possible. The trouble is that in the UK, most health insurance companies won't cover chronic conditions. They will pay for you to get the initial diagnosis and sometimes a few sessions of treatment. But then they decline.
So what will I do?
One step at a time. There are ways and means to help, but we will have to discuss your individual situation with your general practitioner and local healthcare commission services.
We will manage. We have savings. But it doesn't seem fair, does it?
No, it is not fair, particularly when you think that so many doctors and nurses have not even heard of lymphedema.
You enjoying that?
It's all right. Can you get me a dollop more mustard?
It's in the kitchen cupboard.
I know where it is. I asked you to get it for me.
I heard you, and I told you it's in the kitchen cupboard.
And I'm telling you that I can't walk that far.
So you have to manage without it.
You've no sympathy. My arm is swollen, so it's a struggle to reach up, and I struggle to walk, what with all this extra weight.
Maybe you should eat less then.
Just hate the way I look. I'm depressed. I just want to eat and eat. It comforts me.
Mum, I'm not being cruel. You heard what the nurses said. Getting your weight under control will really help with the swelling. It might even stop your cancer coming back. But I know it's hard. They said it would be. But they also said it would help to move around more. Get the fluid moving.
I don't want it. It's just too much bother.
I understand that, Mum, but please try. Remember when you got that infection last year that put you in the hospital?
Sepsis.
Yeah, sepsis. We thought you were a goner. You got it because of the lymphedema, and you could get it again. I want you around to see your grandchildren when I get round to giving you some.
I'm sorry, darling. I just feel so bad about myself some days that dying would be a way out.
Not for me and Dad, it wouldn't. We love you. Would it help to talk to someone about how you're feeling? I'll be a start. Or you and Dad could try that beginner's dance club you're always talking about when you're watching Strictly. I'll even put a glitter ball up for you.
Well, that might be a bit much to start with, but I can manage to get the mustard.
Did you get the brown sauce while you're up?
Cheeky so-and-so.
What are you doing?
Looking up flights to the States.
Did the doctor say it's okay for you to fly? Look what happened last time.
I don't care. We've been invited for Thanksgiving and they want to announce our engagement. If I wear my compression, drink plenty of water and move around, I should be okay. These therapies have been brilliant.
Is that what the nurse said?
No, Mum, I just made it up. Of course that's what she said. Just leave me alone, will you? I'm not going to let this stupid condition get in the way of living.
Well, what about insurance? They won't cover you if you have a pre-existing condition, will they?
I don't have to tell them about it.
You certainly do have to tell them about it, absolutely.
Adam's father was a marvelous man, and I see many of his qualities in Adam. He and I were devoted. He died too young. It was blood cancer, leukemia. He was only 53. We were fortunate that he had good life insurance and his pension. So Daddy left us comfortable, didn't he, my love?
Yes, Mom. You don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from. Not like half the world's population.
I want to work when I'm here. I can contribute to the home.
There's really no need, my dear. It will be lovely to have you here. We can be companions, and I'll be an on-site grandmom when the time comes.
That might not be for some time yet, Mom. We might want to rent our own apartment.
Absolutely not. I won't hear of it. You have the whole of the second floor, and I live on the first floor. You'll be completely independent. You have my word for it. And if you're worried about me interfering in your lives, forget it. I have my own life and circle of friends. Now, I think I'll retire for the evening before we have an argument. Good night, both.
Good night, Mom.
Good night.
I'm so sorry about that. Whenever the conversation gets difficult, she leaves. Used to drive my father crazy. She never wants to face reality.
Can we really rent our own apartment? I studied interior design at college for a while. It will give me a project until my visas are sorted out, and then I can look for a job. I'll enjoy it.
Is it my imagination, or is one of your ankles bigger than the other? Did you wear your flight socks?
Of course. It tends to swell after a flight, but I did all the right things, walking around the cabin, that sort of thing.
Doesn't look right to me.
It will be fine.
Look, I don't want to marry a woman like my mother, always shying away from confrontation or reality. Tomorrow we're going to go see a doctor.
There's a long waiting list.
My darling, this is the United States of America. The dollar speaks louder than words. I'll find a medic online now. I'll just put in swollen ankles.
No. Put in lymphedema. Lymphedema. That's the American spelling.
It's a lovely house. Have you been here a long time?
Oh, yes, we lived here when we were first married. We could never afford it now. How these youngsters cope with buying a place, I'll never know. Our mortgage was paid off years ago, and we took a little loan to help Jack get his own place. Well, you've got to help your kids if you can. Another cup of tea?
Thank you. Yes, mind you, our Olivia's landed on her feet with her Adam. The downside is they'll live in the States, and it's just so far away and so expensive to go there.
It's the way we show our love, to let them go. If that's what they want, of course.
Oh, I'll miss her so much. It's her condition, though, too. She's always been so aware of how she looks. She was asked at one time to be a professional model, but she said it takes too much ego. She's terrified that this lymphedema will spread to her face, her hands, her arms. She's more or less resigned now to wearing the tights. She's got lots of different patterned and colored ones. She says, Mom, if you've got it, flaunt it.
That's the attitude. Look at me. I've this stocking on my arm all day long. For a while, it was too difficult to pull it on, but they put the fear of God into me, and eventually I lost weight, which really helped. Then I see a therapist once or twice a week for drainage massage. Doesn't work for everyone, but I love it. I mean, the cancer was bad enough, but this is a whole new challenge. Well, my attitude is, whoever said that life was meant to be easy.
You've seen this medical doctor in the States, lady. Very expensive. Eye-wateringly so. I don't know how they're going to afford it.
It's about priorities. Is it not?
It is lovely to see you, Olivia, and glad you can make it along to the support group.
It's so good to meet other people with lymphedema. It seemed like me and Mum for a long time were the only ones.
How are things? Plans on track for the wedding?
It's the wearing of the stocking. People comment on it all the time.
Is there anything we can do to make it
less obvious?
It's not that obvious.
It's obvious enough. You have a very thick leg and it's unsightly.
You're always telling me it's the person that matters, not the look.
It is. It's just that you don't want people staring.
You mean you don't want people staring?
Hey, I noticed that you're wearing colored compression, Olivia. Does that make you feel more in control of your look? It is a real challenge for some people.
I'm trying the if you can't beat it, flaunt it mentality. Adam would prefer me to cover up.
It is sometimes more difficult for those people who love us to come to terms with it, as it is for us.
He says we can get a second opinion in America.
I doubt anyone anywhere else will tell you or Adam anything different, but it might help him to hear it from someone else.
We're flying back tomorrow.
Okay. Did you pick up that leaflet on travel?
I did, thanks. It looks good.
Well, you will just learn to be a stoic, Olivia, my dear. It's a mild case after all, and Adam still wants to marry you. It's a manageable disease. I mean, it's not as though you had a football-sized growth on your face that can be reduced to the size of a golf ball. I
don't care what you think. How thoughtless you are. Can you not see beyond the four walls of your comfortable little house? My self-esteem is at rock bottom. It's an incurable condition, and I may even pass it on to my children if I have any, that is. So you can forget about being a grandmother for now.
Whoa, please be respectful to my mother, Olivia. She means well. She's jet lagged.
I am not jet lagged. She doesn't mean well. I can see how you look at me, Dorothy. I know what you're thinking. Adam could do so much better. He could marry a nice, aspirational American girl who is perfect, not this 28-year-old wreck of a woman.
I will retire for the night, and I hope that you will have calmed down sufficiently in the morning to apologize to me for your rudeness.
You just don't get it, do you? The reality is that I have a genetic condition. It can be controlled. I will have it when we marry. And maybe we should just call the whole thing off.
Wait, what do you mean?
You are like your mum. You think that everything in the garden will be rosy. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But managing this condition is a challenge for both of us. And face it, Adam, I may choose not to have children. You either love me for myself, swollen ankles included, or we end the relationship. And right now would be a good time. I'm going to bed.
She's a real difficult one. Are you sure you want to marry her?
I've never been more certain.
On your own head be it. I think you need to do some very careful thinking. Good night.
Hi, is this the Lymphatic Education Organization? Thank you, Greg, for taking my call. He was so helpful, so knowledgeable and compassionate. Like Vanessa said, Olivia has a predisposition to lymphedema from her mother and grandmother. The treatment under Medicare and other insurers here in the US can be a hit or miss affair. Some of the essentials, such as good quality compression garments and pumps, are not always covered by insurers. Some with great insurance cover, and we're not in that league. Do better even with the chance of a surgical procedure, such as lymph node transfer, but the insurers rarely cover those costs. And if we do have children, there is a chance the condition could be passed on. I have a lot to think about.
Good to meet you, Adam. Olivia has told me a lot about you.
She's told me a lot about you too.
We've talked everything through a lot, and we've had a change of heart.
Oh. I'm sorry to hear about that.
No, not about our relationship.
About where we're going to settle. We decided we'll settle in England.
Oh,
Only if you have no retirement plans.
I'm not going anywhere.
This condition will always be with me. I know that.
I accept it and I love you.
Thank you very much.
Oh. No, not you. Well, I do love you too, because you make her feel like a real normal person.
Adam, let's get this straight. Olivia is a normal person. She has a chronic condition, and we can control it. She can live a normal life. Research is improving our knowledge about the genetic basis, and that will lead to better treatments. We can do some genetic testing if you decide to have a family and look at the likelihood of it being passed on, and then you can make an informed decision.
We have just one more thing to ask you.
Go ahead.
May we invite
You and your wife.
to our
Wedding. Oh!
So there you have it. I'm now 29 and 20 weeks pregnant. It's a boy. The genetic testing came out 50-50, so we're taking a chance. I've got these amazing new jazzy compression garments for my legs. They're a fashion statement. Mum and Maureen are bosom pals, so to speak. Maureen's doing really well, even trying the dance class. Mum phones her every morning and they tell each other their news. She's her real phoner friend. We are living with my mum and dad for now, saving wildly for a place of our own. But we love the family support. Adam's mum travelled grudgingly to the wedding. She was very miffed that Adam married someone less than perfect. But she'll come around. She's moving into a retirement complex and she's promised Adam a generous gift when she sells the house. Time will tell. I doubt she'll ever fully accept me for the person that I am. But I bet the grandson will make a difference. Vanessa in London and Greg in the USA continue to do great work to help and support those with lymphedema. And Vanessa has asked if I'll do some voluntary work on the helpline, which I will. Professor Pemberton continues to run his clinic, fundraise and campaign for the NHS to treat the condition. No ifs, no buts, as well as being a worldwide ambassador for the condition. I hope against hope that there will be many more clinicians like Peter Pemberton in the future.
Well, thank you again to all of the great actors for Let's Talk Lymphedema, and very excited to be here with our distinguished panel, including the playwright, Brian Daniels. I know, Brian, that you have a long history of writing plays that bring awareness to a variety of diseases. So can you talk a little bit about how you got involved with writing a play about lymphedema?
Yes, I mean, and it's by accident really that I seem to be associated with writing plays about medical issues. I think it started when I was asked to write a play about dementia, early onset dementia, but it went wider than that. It was really all about family life and how any illness impacts on the family, and lymphedema is exactly the same. I knew nothing at all about lymphedema. And a very good friend who co-wrote the book, Let's Talk Lymphedema, which of course is the name of the play, a lady called Gemma Levine, had appeared on a television program, a documentary, and she was talking about her lymphedema. And she was surprised at the number of people who contacted her to say, but this is a hidden illness, nobody ever talks about it. And how brave of you to admit to having the condition. And Gemma, who is a good friend of mine, said, why don't you think about writing a play about it? So I don't know if I can really, because I'll have to do the research. But she then put me in contact with Professor Peter Mortimer, and he really taught me, like a beginner's guide to lymphedema. And then I was invited by Juzo, who is the manufacturer who sponsored the play. And I was invited to go to Munich to go around their factory. And it's just fantastic the way they make it easier for people with that condition to live with it.
Yeah, and driving in the car, we have obviously Steve Guttenberg, who people know as an iconic actor who has starred in beloved films all throughout my years, Diner, All the Way Forward. Steve, you're here both as an actor and as an honorary board member of LE&RN. Do you want to tell people the story behind how you got involved with LE&RN and why?
Well, I met Bill Repicci through my mom. About 20 years ago, my mom contacted breast cancer, and she had to have surgery. My mom actually had a wound after her surgery that would not heal for years. We figured out an oxygen chamber was the last resort, and it actually worked and closed the holes. From there, my mom's arm started to swell. So we did our research and we found out that it was lymphedema. Lymphedema is a disease that needs to be funded by the research, and the treatment needs to be funded completely by the federal government and the state governments. They need to know about it. And that's why I'm here. I'm here for my mom and to cure lymphedema.
Thank you, Steve. Katie, I know that acting in this particular piece had a special significance for you. Can you tell us about what that is?
Sure. I have lymphedema. It changed everything. It changed everything about my life. I was an actor for 30 years, and I had to step away because of lymphedema. So that changed basically everything in my life. I was at a loss of what to do when I was first diagnosed. I didn't know anybody who had it. I didn't know anybody who could help me. I didn't know anything. So when I found LE&RN, it gave me a community of people that I could reach out to and lean on and get information. I mean, I was doing stuff. I was wrapping my leg in cabbage leaves. Look it up on the internet. It's a real thing. It will bring swelling down. But you can't live your life walking around with cabbage. I tried.
Really?
And I also didn't know it was chronic and not curable. So I thought, oh, I'll just do this for a while and then it'll go away and I'll be fine. No, I didn't know all of that. So I learned a lot from LE&RN, and I felt less isolated, because the isolation and the shame, because it's ugly and it makes you look fat, there's a lot of shame involved in it. And people don't talk about it. We don't talk to each other about it. We all lived in our own little bubbles, not knowing anybody else. And so LE&RN has pulled us all together. We're not alone. We're just unconnected.
I have learned so much over the past several years. I came to the lymphedema community through Bill Repicci, and he would come as my guest to see my theater work with the 24-hour plays as my friend. And at one of the opening night parties, he was talking to one of my board members, and that person said to Bill, "Lymphedema, my mom's got that. It sucks." And then they talked for a long time, and then they talked after that. And I was telling another board member about how her colleague had connected with Bill, and then she said, "Oh, my mother-in-law has that." So within our tiny community, all of a sudden, we started to realize, oh, we know this person and we know that person. And none of us knew all of that before Bill and LE&RN sort of entered the 24-hour plays community and helped us make all of the connections between the people in our lives. And my hope is that by bringing people together through doing this play, we are in a small way being a part of what LE&RN does every day all around the world, which is bring people together in a community so that they feel less alone. Thank you all so much for making the time to do this today and for being part of this play and being part of this community.